started and wait on Mr. Maggio just join us. Ms. Williamson, if you want to get us started. Or Mayor Chandler?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I just want to say, my staff and I have been working on this New Year's budget for many weeks now, and I'm proud of the budget that was going to be presented today. I'd like to have my CAO come up, if she would, Amanda Nottingham, and give an overview of the proposed budget. After that, if you know, all my departments are here, so you can have questions and ask some specific questions.
All right.
Good afternoon, Council. I just wanted to give some of the highlights for the budget that is before you. In 2024, proposed general fund revenue is 7.9% greater than the 2023 revised budget, and the proposed general fund expenses are 7.6% higher than the 2023 revised budget. These increases include the following changes: 56% increase in general insurance, 10% increase in group health benefits, 9% increase in required retirement contributions, with MPERS having an increase, and 2 to 4% cost of living adjustments for all employees, and then $1 million total increase split evenly between fire and police, and the addition of 5 new positions. The group benefits, our total approximate increase is $854,000. And then the general insurance, which was mentioned earlier, is approximately $1.8 million. We don't have final numbers for that. We are hoping that comes in less, but that is what we have budgeted for. For salary increases, the budget includes the state-mandated 2% increases for fire and police, and it also includes a 2 to 4% increase for employees who are not already receiving an increase in 2023 or 24. The percentage of the adjustment depends on their current salary. So we did a tiered approach where the lower paid employees will get a greater percentage. They'll get the 4%. And then we have a mid-range from $30,000 to $50,000 will get a 3%, and then anyone over $50,000 will get a 2% raise. Employees who have less than a year of service will not receive that raise until they have completed a year of service. So we wanted to make sure that we recognize the hard work of our employees who have been here and committed to the city, and then also hopefully incentivize those who are new to the city to stick around. On our funds to others, there will not be a Barksdale Air Show this year in 2024. And then we did not have funds requested for B. Bossier for 2024. And also we left the budget allocation for Sportran the same. For the retirement, MPERS for the police, their percentage went up for 2024, and then that also included the cost of living adjustments and the adjusted retirement contributions for that. 2024 sales tax budget is 2% higher than the 2023 budget, and this amounts to approximately $1 million, and that is being allocated to fire and police, and that was done earlier this year via ordinance for their budgets for salaries and personnel. On the manning changes, we have 713 proposed positions for 2024, which is an increase in 5. 2 are for the city marshal's office for the city hall security upgrades, which was approved in ordinance 49 of 2023. 1 is for information services. We felt it was important to have an additional staff member there that can be at the Public Works Complex, since they are more remote, but there are multiple departments that are served there. And so we felt like that would be a great asset for those different departments, and they would be housed at the Public Works Complex. 2 laborers in the Streets Division, And then in the Public Services and Sanitation Fund, is one position for a grass cutter, and then MPC is down one position on the GIS coordinator. We highlighted the transfers from general fund, $102,740 to cover the cost of living adjustments for water fund employees and public service and sanitation fund. The fund balance ordinance 41 of 2014 requires 15% of budgeted expenses be maintained in the general fund balance. 2024 expenditures plus debt service and transfers out equals $69,982,554. 15% of that is $10,497,383. And so the budgeted fund balance for the year ending December 31st, 2024 is $41,718,447, which meets that requirement. And the proposed 2024 budget projects revenue equal to expenditure, so it is a balanced budget. The Civic Center has increased revenue under the current executive director 45%. And you can see in 2020, it was $429,066. 2021, which the current executive director began in November of that year, the revenues were $467,805. 2022, that number increased to $598,087. And projected for 2023 is $679,361. They are projected to have a record revenue for the end of this year, and that trend is expected to continue into 2024. Also of note, the rates that are currently being charged have been in place since 2008, so we are evaluating that without any increases in 15 years. That is still a phenomenal job on the revenue and turning that around. One of the things to note, as Ms. Williamson presented earlier, our sales tax revenue is significantly up month over month. So year to date, it's up over 24%. I'm sorry, it was up year to date. I can't remember, was it 17%?
17.8%.
Yeah, so, and we see that trend happening each month. The 4 months are remaining in this current year, and December is typically the highest collection month. Additionally, the property tax revenue is projected to be higher, so that was adjusted for the 2024 budget. And then we have each of the department heads here, and of course, Ms. Williamson, for any questions about specific departments. Are there any questions?
Is there any questions for Ms. Nottingham? Or the mayor? No? All right, I think we are going to start with Chief Zagone. And we'll do fire department and then all other departments that you manage. Get it all knocked out at one time. All right.
All right, council, I guess I'll go kind of the major increases like we've done, significant increases in line items. One, looking at our budget, is the premium hours. That's part of the $500,000 y'all gave us for 2024. That's the FLSA. The increase was $200,000 to that line item. That's the FLSA pay to the firefighters that we discussed back in July. State supplemental pay was an increase of $211,400. That's due to the extra $100 a month that we budgeted, but then it comes out because the state pays it, but they went from $500 a month to $600 a month in the last legislative session. So you can pay the taxes and all that on it. The retirement did increase $310,000. That was due to partially the FLSA pay and the ambulance pay. You have to pay retirement on that. Plus, we have less people on the drop now. There for a while, we were north of 30 to 40 people on the drop, and they have since retired. We've been replacing them, so now they're not on the drop. So I found out that we're the only retirement system that while the employee's on the drop, the employee doesn't pay the retirement portion, nor does the city pay the retirement portion while they're on the drop. So a lot of those have retired. Health insurance, of course, was a big one. That was 260,000, 10%. That's what we added. First aid supplies, we added 25,000. The general insurance was 395,800. And the other one was the ambulance staffing at 182,000. That's the $50 a shift for everybody on the 2 people on the ambulance. That was part of the $500,000 y'all gave us. So that's the major increases in the operating budget. On the capital side, it's pretty much standard. We did put a ladder truck, a Quint, a 77-foot Quint, 1.5 million. That's what I was telling you on a ladder truck of any type now. It's over 3 years before we'll get it. Those fire trucks y'all approved a few months ago, they give us a 28-month delivery time. This is north of a 3-year delivery time. And as soon as this meeting's over, I'm headed to Baton Rouge. We're gonna receive the first truck that we paid for over 2 years ago, or we cut a PO for. We won't pay for it until it gets delivered here, but that's the 100-foot aerial. That one that we currently have is a 2011 or 12 model, and the reserve we've been running for 26 years. Matter of fact, police chief was picking on me. It broke down in Benton Road, and we shut Benton Road down Friday at noon, so it's a perfect time to take delivery. The rest of the stuff is just normal training things, the EMS items that we normally get every year. We do have, we always do a remount of an ambulance, but we have the purchase of 3 chassis, 3 ambulance chassis. That's what we do every occasionally. And we just sent the last chassis off to be remounted. So we'll buy 3, we'll put them at the garage, and as we need them, we'll take it and send it down to get remounted. And our warranty won't start until the day we put it in service. So it's worked out when we purchase them. And that's worked pretty good for us. We wound up saving a lot of money by purchasing 3, and that lasts us for 3 years, actually. So I'll be retired before these get here also. So, now we did go up, I think 25,000 in our firefighting gear to 75,000 for the new recruits, because the cost of bunker gear has significantly went up, about twice as much. To outfit a firefighter now with all the gear is right at about $5,000. So,
Is there any questions for Chief Sagone? Looks like you're off the hook easy today.
see y'all next week.
All right, Chief Haugen.
Sorry. Afternoon, Council, Mr. Mayor. I guess I'll do the same, just kind of go down major changes in line items. First off, the salaries went up 137,000. That was partially due to the second 250 that we will be getting for 24, the $500,000 overall. We were actually able to decrease that some for the same reason the fire department has. We have a lot of these older people starting to come off of the books, and their 2% and so on and so forth was going down. So the biggest reflection of that was the addition, 6 additional officers that we added due to the salary adjustment. State supplemental pay went up on us $100 per person. So that's actually an expenditure account. We received the money back for that, but we do show it on our deal going up 242,000. Other additional pay, that was the second part of the budget adjustment we did for the $500,000. What didn't go into salaries to hire people got put down there. State retirement went up on us. That was a big one. Went up almost 3% from 31, don't quote me 100%, 31.75 to like 33.295 or something like that. It was a pretty good jump. Fire departments, state retirement did that several years ago. They're at that percentage now, and police department was just now matching them. Put a pretty good lick for that. Insurance benefits obviously went up. That's another big one. Software maintenance, 330-something thousand overall is what it grew. That's due to our body cameras coming to the end of life, the ones that we currently have. The body camera and the in-car system both are at end of life, and we're at a point to where we're out of contract with that particular company, and we're having to re-up it. We put it out, I wouldn't say exactly to bid yet, because we're not at the point of having to buy it, but we did have multiple companies come in and give us a projected bid on it. And that's kind of, I would say, middle of the road. It's not the best of the best, but it wasn't the cheapest either. Some of that 330-something thousand, we were able to cut prior to because of what we were already paying the camera systems beforehand, and then that was the difference. The equipment side of that is in the capital budget. This was just for the software maintenance side of it. It will be on a 5-year contract with that company, and then, so it's pretty much every year if that's the route that we go. General insurance already been covered. That's pretty much it overall, unless y'all have any other questions. On the capital side, like I said, standard stuff. The biggest jump there that we did was the computer equipment. There's about to the tune of another $375,000 in that for the body cameras and for purchasing the equipment. And then the software side of it will stay in the operating budget. Everything else pretty much stayed the same. Before we added that, we were, right around the same as last year. Body armor, vehicle equipment, vehicles are still an issue for us. We're trying the best that we can, working with fleet services, pretty much trying to buy, but we're year and a half in getting cars at the moment, so.
Anybody have any questions for Chief Haugen?
Yeah, Chief, we talked about the possibility of an educational incentive.
Yes,
Did
sir.
you ever get the number, a ballpark, what that would be?
Yes, sir. It was in, that $80,000 increase that you see in other additional pay. I was able to work that out of the, budget adjustment that we already did.
Okay.
And it's to the tune of about $79,000. So that 80,000 would cover it. We have not put it into play yet, although it was part of the budget adjustment. I was just, we're gonna get past this budget season and then.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would be something we need to really look to do because of the retention rate.
Yes, sir.
And just going forward, we've talked about that in committee, so.
Yes, sir. It's
Hopefully we
there, it's built in. It's technically part of 2023 already because we did the budget adjustment back in July. Like I said, I didn't pull the trigger on it, for lack of a better term, until, we get past this budget season. I don't want to give something to somebody and have to turn around and take it away, so.
Okay.
Chief, does every one of your officers right now have a body cam?
Yes, sir. Everybody on the entire department, whether they're uniformed officers, detectives, because anybody that comes in contact with the public, which is pretty much my whole department.
And I know we had spoken and with Lieutenant Booker, that still working on some federal grants that are
We are.
hopefully out there that we may be able to get for this.
We are.
Okay.
Either way, we're at a point to where we have to do it regardless of, federal grant stuff. We have one that's written right now. We won't know until the month of October whether we get anything awarded to us or not. But we're at the point to where we're fixing to have to do something.
Any other questions for Chief Haugen?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, we got the city council budget. There's no major change. Anybody have any questions about the city council budget? All right, then we'll move to the public affairs budget.
We didn't have any significant changes other than those that were unavoidable with the insurance changes.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Nottingham? No? Finance Department?
Finance also, we had, insurance was our major increase, and we, did rearrange some money to, just between expense accounts based on what we're seeing in 2023 to make sure we have enough money for each item.
Okay.
Angela, are we, from that meeting the other day, meeting with representative from Aetna, are we still on a strict deadline with him to whichever way we're going to go?
Yes, I feel like it would be best to get him a decision as soon as possible so he can get started, with all the paperwork.
Any other questions for Ms. Williamson?
Thank you.
All right, Information Services.
Afternoon, Council. Mayor Chandler. We've had, looks like just the increases having to deal with employee benefits and retirement, insurance, general insurance and stuff, as everyone else did. We have a software maintenance increase that we've seen, which should be dropping off as we roll into 2025, as we cut all our systems over to the new software. So right now, we've already cut payroll over in the accounting packages, and those payments will cease this year. As we roll into next year, we're taking care of utility billing, and we have a monthly steering committee that meets, and to keep a tight timeline on that as well. I have some equipment maintenance that started coming up. A lot of the new equipment, when we had the flood back in 2017, is beginning to turn 5 years old, and when we initially purchased it, we either got it with 3 or 5 year maintenance. So as that equipment is starting to age, we're starting to have to pay, annual maintenance again. One item we do have to, we're looking at, our overtime budget has continued to creep up, and that's due to the cybersecurity component that we're now having to address. I've looked back and reviewed budgets previous years. Our overtime was, $5,000 or less a year. And of course, we saw the industry as a whole saw ransomware start to begin to be very prevalent out there, starting around 2018, and it just continues to get worse. I know y'all probably see on the news, all the major corporations are having to deal with it. We do have a cybersecurity company that takes care of the monitoring and notification, but whenever we have a potential event, it's Information Services has to get out and mitigate it. Plus, we are responsible for applying all the patches to all our systems. And our last count, we're upwards to 138 servers that we maintained.
Is there any questions for Mr. Bailey?
Yes, and part of that would be an increase on our overtime. If you see the estimate, looks like the system has calculated an estimate of 28,000, and I'd like to request 30,000 for next year.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I don't see Ms. Bonnevier here at the arena. Human Resources?
Afternoon, Council, Mayor. I got one major increase on ours. Somehow it got overlooked last year, and it's in consulting services. Right now, what goes into there is our EAP, which is $32,400. The benefits fair goes in there, and it runs about $4,000. Our COBRA fees runs about $8,600. That's what it ran last year, and kind of on pace of the same this year. And then we have to send out at the end of the year the 1085s, which we send it to all employees, former employees, and it shows when we're eligible for benefits and whatnot. It ran about $5,000 last year, so we're assuming that it's going to run about the same. So that's the reason for that increase. Also increased travel and training. There's a conference in Indianapolis for the new system, Munis. And I'd like to send my 2 new ladies up there so they can get some more training on the system. We went this year to San Antonio, which I was able to drive. I don't think they'd be able to drive to Indianapolis, but got a lot of good information out of that, so it'll show them some pointers and tricks and tips and things like that, and keeping them in line with this new system. And then the other stuff is what they've already talked about.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Tomasak? No? All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
sir. City Attorney's Office,
Good afternoon, council, Mr. Mayor. We had in our department no major changes other than the insurance that's already been discussed by everyone else. We did have a pretty significant decrease. We were in a contract that was already in place when Charles and I started back in mid-2021 for our Westlaw legal research, and it was fairly steep. We've been able to renegotiate that before the end of the 3-year term, which was at the end of this year. We've already renegotiated and been able to reduce it significantly. Other than that, I think our budget overall will be in line with what it was last year. There is a change in here that I hadn't had a chance to discuss with Ms. Williamson yet, but I think there's an issue under other expenses, and it shows a $10,000 increase, which I don't think that's correct. That's not in line with what was in the other, our other budget workshops. I think that's actually supposed to be a revenue account for some city court items that are being charged for. But other than that, we don't have any significant increases other than the general insurance things that are affecting every other department. If anything, we have a pretty major decrease.
any questions for Mr. Ray? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
City Marshal?
How are y'all? So, yes, we are asking for an increase for 2 additional people for when the new security portion of that building comes on, because we, quite frankly, cannot man it with the manning we have now. Our papers are increasing, our warrants are increasing, court time's increasing, and we're doing special functions over here sometimes when you have special administrative meetings. We're just being pulled a lot. So I understand that's gonna go up. We will stay within the ordinance of 139 of 2015 on the hiring, the salaries, because they're set. We just don't know if we're gonna get 2 post-certified experienced people, or we gotta do new hires and send them through the academy. And then everything else is not much of an increase, but there's some increases there because of those 2 new hires.
Any questions for Ms. Anderson? No? All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank y'all.
Community Development?
Good afternoon, council. I don't really have any major changes in our operation budget, just some minor changes. In our capital budget, we have a few items. We need a new car. Our inspector's car is 93,000 nearly miles, and by the time we get another car in, it'll be over 100,000. It's had several repairs this year, so we figured we'd put that in there now. The other thing is we looking at having some kind of a generator operation, because when all the power was down, we couldn't do anything at our office. Not even the landline phones worked, nothing worked. So if we had a generator, we could keep operating, but, so we have that.
Any questions for Ms. Brown? No? All right, thank you.
Right.
City Engineer?
Good afternoon, council. In general, the operating budgets for both the engineering department and the traffic engineering department, those things are remaining very close to where they were last year. Capital budget, we've got some items in here that probably need to be more generic, but we're allocating a little over $2 million for some streets and drainage improvements on the capital side, but the majority of the capital budget's very similar to what we've done in the past years with street improvements and unplanned streets and drainage and things of that nature. So I'm just trying to keep track with our capital improvement plan. Any specific questions?
Yeah, Ben, okay, well, I guess the mowing in your budget, that is, that's stuff y'all are mowing for, property standards?
It is, and I'm actually gonna be coming to y'all for an amendment to that. We've been
I was
doing
gonna say,
it.
that looks awful low for everything
Yeah.
that y'all are having to maintain.
We're needing another, I think, about $40,000 just to finish out the end of this year. So something we're looking at close, and I'll pay attention to that, but it's.
Hopefully that's gonna go down. I know, Mr. Jacobs is working, we're trying to figure out a way to get some of these properties off of our books and, you know, back on the tax book.
Those property standards guys work very hard.
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and do public utilities while you're up here?
Sure. While I'm here, you know, public utilities, much like all the other departments, is facing a lot of increases, most of that being in chemicals, power, insurance, and electricity. And so currently, from last year to this year, we're looking at about a 14% increase department-wide in our budget. More than around half of that is just in those items. Something that Ms. Williams asked me to do is to move what we call operating capital. A lot of that's for the water plant. In our capital budget, we usually have around $500,000 there. We've moved that into the operating budget. That accounts for some of that increase as well. And then our capital improvement budget's dropped by about $1 million. So we're doing our best to control costs, but inflation is beating us down pretty bad. But no other major changes in public utilities other than those.
Any questions for Mr. Rauschenbach?
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Building maintenance.
Good afternoon, Council, Mayor. We didn't have any significant changes, increases, particularly in building maintenance. The biggest bulk of our budget is budget on the line item toward building repair and maintenance. Actually decreased by around 24%. And my understanding is that money will go to fleet services. It'll decrease in my budget and increase in their budget because they're more familiar with the maintenance of the fuel island facilities. So when they call for service, the money's been coming out of building maintenance budget, but now when they call for repairs to the fuel islands, the third-party vendors are billed to the city, and it'll go through fleet services. They're more familiar with those repairs. Other than that, everything's pretty much the same in our operating budget. Our capital budget, we are looking at potentially replacing one of the main chiller units that cools the entire city complex. There are 3 main chillers. 2 of them are about 5 years old, give or take. One of them is almost 20 years old. So it's no longer serviceable. So we're looking to replace that in our capital budget for next year.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, on building maintenance, are there generators at the parks and recreation facilities? You know, backup generators?
There are, yes, for the most part,
Okay. Any others?
the smaller park facilities, I don't believe.
I don't think so.
Yeah, we sort of discussed that before, when you have inclement weather conditions and need something like that. If we had the facility equipped, then, you know, we could use that as temporary shelter. But I don't know if that was something you guys talked about capital-wise.
Not in You talking about to the maintenance and
Yeah,
stuff?
just going forward, yeah, we discussed it before, going forward, there's a couple agencies that going to look at having a facility. But in the meantime, we could actually have that opportunity to render
And
temporary.
which buildings are you referring to?
Well, one of the parks facilities, I don't know which one we could consider for,
During the last storm, we used the gym, the Shady Grove gym.
The Shady Grove,
We,
yes.
we brought in some portable generators to get that building up and running, but there are no permanent generators for that
that's
facility.
something I think you should look into, going forward.
Okay.
I can get some costs on that and get back.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Do you want one in the south and north?
We need it, yeah,
Okay.
until we get those other agencies.
Okay,
Facilities up.
I mean, if we have to, we can use the substation and the sheriff, but if you let us do that. But we're up north, where you want to put it? Airline High School? It's already, well,
They got a generator.
they got generators at Airline?
The whole gym.
I'm not certain.
I wouldn't know.
Does Civic Center run off the generator here?
It does.
All right. Any other questions?
See, spending the money if we got a Civic Center that's run off a generator already. Just a thought.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ford.
Thank you.
Permits Department.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. The only significant change other than the employee benefits, it's already been discussed, is our travel and training. We did a slight increase in that, and that's due to some classes that we'll be sending all the inspectors to kind of help maintain and manage the backflow prevention program.
Is there any questions for Mr. Taylor? No? Thank you, sir. Public Works.
Afternoon, council. Afternoon, Mayor. Is there any specific departments you want to start with, or?
Just any, I guess, any major changes from any of the,
The only major changes other than the obvious ones everybody's talked about is, I've made an addition of 2 full-time employees in the street department. I've discussed that with some of y'all, beforehand. The need for that is so we can provide better service in the street department to cover the city better. Allow me to be able to break the crew into 2 crews to cover operations better, potholes, ditch cleaning, what have you. I'm also adding and at the same time, our area of responsibility is increasing every year. Adding another person on to the grass cutting crew, full-time employee on the grass cutting crew. And I've increased my budgets on equipment maintenance and repair a little bit where I can see that it needs to be. It just wasn't high enough. Parts, labor have all gone up with inflation, as everybody talks about. And we just are using the equipment a lot, and you tend to have repairs. And I'm a little more of a maintenance hawk to stay on top of it.
my only question would be, and I think I proposed this to the mayor to look into, is do you think it might be beneficial for us to look at contracting out the grass cutting and even the street sweeping? Maybe save us a little money if we contract that out to that third party, and then those employees could be moved into your streets division, so that way you're fully staffed there, and it's not our responsibility. We're paying somebody to stay on top of the grass, and the grass is always cut. Do you think that would be beneficial?
Well, we'd have to take some bids, to see, there's a lot of areas in the city that's cut, I've learned since I've been here in 2 years, there's a lot of those areas and weed eating and things like that, it would take an extensive explanation to a contractor that wanted to, put out a bid for that. We do contract some areas of the city already. It's been in the budget, and we've increased that, I think, over the last year a little bit to give those areas attention quicker than we can get around with our crews. I'd be open to that, but then you're going to be bound to the guidelines of a contract with that contractor. So every aspect of that would have to be covered in the contract.
And you did use a sweeper when you needed it.
Yeah, we have contracted with a sweeper through this storm cleanup that we've had. Became aware of a local contractor that works for the DOTD, as well as works down south for some other municipalities, and he's doing a good job. And we did put some contract sweeping in our budget for next year to help us out. As it goes right now, both of the sweepers I have that run are both down for maintenance.
Are there any?
Mr. Rich, we discussed the possibility of a maintenance crew for ditches.
Yes, sir.
Are those guys going to cross-train that you hired, those two?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. The two people that I've added are operator-type personnel with a little bit higher pay rate than a general laborer, because it takes too long to get somebody from that point to the point where they can operate heavy equipment.
Okay.
And we do, right now, if, for instance, if you call and we're on a ditch project, and I have 3 guys on that project, and it takes 2 to do what I have to shut the whole operation down. If yours is an emergency, to go take care of your problem, or if I add these 2 people, I can still leave 3 there and send 2 to do another job. So I'm covering more projects at one time.
Okay.
And the ditch maintenance is very important to me. I'm still trying to catch up on it. We're still running behind on it. And I'm talking in terms of cleaning, dredging the ditches, not the grass cutting. That can be done fast. I'm talking about things that control water flow, flow lines of the ditches, ditch servitudes, garbage, trash, debris in the ditches to be cleaned out that can cause flooding if we have a major flood.
Thank you, yeah.
Is there any other questions for Mr.
Yeah,
Rich?
Mr. Rich, does the garbage pickup, that falls under y'all's department, doesn't it?
That is correct.
Am I reading this right, a 22.1% increase in that? I know garbage pickup is a major, I know you get tired of us calling you. I mean, it's a major problem. How long is our current contract, how much longer do we have with our current contract with them?
You know, man, I want 5 years.
5 years?
And they increase their prices based on their contract due to the consumer price index.
Are we gonna have to go up on what we're charging to meet what they're going up?
Well, that is something we may look at some point, the public service fund, the public service fee that we may want to look at in the future to keep that fund.
When was that contract signed, Angela? I'm sorry?
July 2023.
Well, one of the problems is the landfill fee went up on them.
It did. They had to adjust that fee some, and it did turn out to be better than it.
They're charging more to dump.
Did we see that contract before it was signed?
It was a renewal, I think, wasn't it? Was it renewal? Yeah, just renewed.
I mean, just what we're paying and what we're getting. I mean, me personally, I mean, it's every Friday. I mean, my phone starts ringing at 10 o'clock in the morning. That doesn't stop till Saturday afternoon sometimes when the garbage is finally picked up. But we can discuss that later.
Any other questions for Mr. Rich? No. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Parks and Rec.
Council, Mayor. Gentlemen, as previously stated, everybody's facing the same thing, the fuel costs, electric and so forth. So that's the biggest part where our budget was increased. And that's our general fund budget and out of our control. Capital budget, overall, stayed about the same as what we had last year. The equipment is replacing stuff that we've worn out. So got to be replaced if we're going to maintain our facilities, maintain our parks. Each park's got a little bit of something going on in it. We just did a bigger overhaul at Mitchell and the Meadowview Park, new playground equipment and so forth. And as you see, have a proposal at Fort Smith to put in some pickleball courts. This is something that's needed in this particular area of the city. This is something by the Council on Aging, and the people that play pickleball have been hammering us pretty heavy to find places to play. And we have that space at Fort Smith to be able to offer and convert into a used, you know, y'all remember where the old swimming pool was? This will be the location we'd like to go back with. And the pickleball player said that after they got through, they'd be able to go over to one of the establishments, get something to drink and something to eat there at the East Bank. So the people in the East Bank would benefit out of this also, the property owners and vendors. South Bossier, as you see in the total down there, we continue to work with the community center there that you're talking about. It has got a lot of pickleball players coming in. Thursday, I think they had 21 people in the gym for one court trying to learn how to play pickleball. And we're excited to be able to offer that. Mike Wood had a heck of a stormy season, as y'all know. Lots of limbs, lots of trees, lots of work went in there. And Walker Place, maintaining it. Overall, our capital budget is about the same as what we did last year, 1.3 million, a little over. We're looking to maintain our facilities where people want to come and enjoy. I don't know if y'all been out on the weekends. Tinsley's wrapped up with our football, soccer, and tournaments going on. Parking is hard to find. Do y'all have any specific questions I might be able to address for you?
Any questions for Mr. Bohannon?
Did the committee recommend any revenue-producing options for the rec? I forgot.
We actually have spoken with the mayor, and have you formulated a plan on that, or?
Yes, we've, me and the staff talking, I've talked to Coach about that, and we're looking into that right now. We're talking about getting the sponsors for the field.
Do field
And that way,
sponsors.
the sponsor for it, there'll be extra money coming in.
What's the timeline on that?
I will hope to have something to the mayor within the next 2 or 3 weeks with a proposal for him to evaluate, sir, to tell me if he thinks it's worth pursuing or whatever. But I've been working on that ever since we had the discussion at the staff meeting. Yes, sir, we're coming with a.
Any thoughts on the RV rental?
Yes, sir, we're increasing, putting in 10 more spots out there. Overall, we've generated quite a bit of revenue, more so this year than we did last year because we've been up and running and had it available. And we've been maxed out 4 or 5 weekends already on people renting space from us out there. Yes, sir,
And we're
very
making,
much so.
making good money off the concessions, that guy doing the concessions too.
Yes, sir. That whole facility is doing what we anticipated, about $250,000 worth.
Yeah.
I know the tennis center was wanting some updates to it. Have we considered possibly putting pickleball courts out there, so our residents in North Bossier can have quick and easy access?
Not at the tennis center. We would need to build pickleball courts for pickleball because of the height of the net and the size of the court would not fit the facility we have now for tennis.
We couldn't pour like new courts next to the current tennis courts, or?
We could find a spot up there to put some in, yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Just on the pickleball, I mean, I would just ask that we take a big, long look at that we've got businesses that pay taxes in the city of Bossier that have invested a lot of money in putting in pickleball courts, that they pay taxes to the city of Bossier, and I would hate to see us go spend a lot of money on pickleball courts and us potentially put them out of business. So that's my only thoughts on that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bohannon.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
All right, the garage, right, there he is.
Best for last here. Same as everyone else has been saying, just a general insurance and ARCLA gas and software maintenance is the only thing that I had an increase in. And as far as capital budget, all we have on this is our normal items, upgrading some scanners and shop tools and stuff. We did have in there to put air conditioning in the shop, and that's in the budget this year if y'all will approve it.
Is there any questions for Mr. Ward? All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
MPC, I don't see, oh, there.
Good afternoon, council members, mayor. I'm Carolina Blanca, assistant planner for the MPC. Carlota couldn't be here, but I will take any question that you have, and I will make sure she can answer to you.
Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Carlotta? No? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Civic Center.
Good afternoon, council. Nothing really is in line, I can't even talk. We are in line the same as last year, didn't make any changes except for the general insurance, and we went up on the electricity, made the adjustments that direction. So, do you have any questions?
Well, I would just like to say, Ms. Carroll, you have done a fantastic job.
Oh, well, thank you.
I appreciate that. We've never had such
It's
an
amazing, isn't it?
increase in that civic center getting revenue generated. I don't think, David, is that right?
You're correct.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
that
I'll
is
second that.
fantastic. Yeah, kudos to you. We need more of that for 2024, so
I'm already filled all,
the
most
bar is set
weekends
higher
next
for
year, so.
2024. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Wonderful job.
She's got Ray Lanna's in there now for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's a big income right there.
That is just fantastic.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Okay.
And you're adding somebody to your staff in next budget, is that correct?
I kept it in there from last year, but I'm not adding, obviously, I would come to you if we were
What is
gonna.
that that's a booking agent, isn't
Right.
it, that you're?
That was in there from last year, but obviously, that didn't work this year, but I was gonna wait till the numbers pan out at the end of the year and see if it's viable.
And she is working off the 2008 prices. So
Yes, and I have a letter I'm crafting right now to some of our long time, telling them that we're having a rate increase and this is what we're doing, kind of breaking the news. But I've been warning them that it was coming, start adjusting budgets.
When do you think you'll have a proposal to the mayor on what all the rate increases will be?
I'm working on that this week, so this week, and I'll be glad to share that.
Mr. Mayor, will you be willing to share that with us?
Yes, sir.
All right.
And this is after she's done redid all the bathrooms and everything too, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Is there
Thank
any,
you.
any questions? No? Thank you, Ms. Carroll. All right. I think that's going to wrap up
Hey,
all of our.
Can I ask Ms. Nottingham to come up?
Sure.
I'll ask her to tell you what, we got something else we got going on.
I just wanted to add one thing under Public Works for Animal Services. The superintendent has done a cost of care study, and we have determined we are grossly undercharging in our agreement with the parish. So we are evaluating that to increase that so it is in line with what we're actually paying for the care of these animals. At any given time, approximately a third of the animals that we house are parish animals. And so that is a significant portion, and we want to make sure that we're not subsidizing that part.
I could not agree more. What timeframe are y'all looking at?
So
Possibly notifying them and having a price?
we've submitted an initial letter letting them know since they are in budget season. We have not received a response yet, so we anticipate we'll probably get some back and forth going, but it'll open the discussions, so I think it'll be positive for the city.
On the COLA, is that 2 to 4% including part-time employees?
We only did full-time. It was only full.
Only full-time?
Mhm.
Okay, not part-time.
Correct.
And I know, Mayor, we've talked about going forward, the compensation study. So where is that in the budget? Because we got two proposals. The city clerk did a lot of the lead work to get us two proposals. So do we have that line item yet?
Yes, sir. You're the only one that's gotten those proposals since
Okay.
you asked for it. I haven't
So
shared
that
that
would
with the
be
administration.
forthcoming. Yeah, because we did get two. And we know that the city has maybe some of the lowest paid employees in the state,
Yes, sir.
perhaps. And so we want to really take a look at that citywide. And we'll get you that copy, Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah, you can come on. Yeah, come on.
Just a couple of quick questions. I didn't know if there was opportunity for public comment earlier. I would have mixed them in. Couple of general questions. The $75 million bond that those bonds were never placed, is that bond that can still be sold, or are those, would that have to be voted on by the council again?
What bond issue are you talking about?
The $75 million that I don't think that we ever placed those bonds, when we refinanced the $110 million, and then they approved another $75 million, but I think they were never sold because of the interest rates. Is that correct?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Montgomery, we never received those bonds, right?
Correct.
You never sold them, so, okay.
No, we never incurred that debt at all.
So does that mean that the council would have to put it on the agenda again to approve to approve the sale of the bonds? Or is it already approved that you could just go out and sell them when you decided to place them? I don't know.
We'll get an answer from our bond counsel on that for you.
Okay, thanks, I appreciate that.
You can enter that for the record, please, Phyllis.
I think the other question is the $3 million that's used for road repair. I know y'all get the same feedback that I got when I was doing the petition, but road repair with the amount of inflation that we've got, I know no one has very much tolerance for new debt or anything for that, but it just seems like that's like a sore that needs to be, fixed in some way. And I think that's one of the biggest complaints that I've heard from general public. And then I think the other thing that, just general question for finance is that I believe that the last CAFRs have $33 to $34 million in payments on principal and interest for the next 13 years. It just seems like that any long-term pay increases or studies or issues like that the city's going to have to free up some cash flow in the long run, because I don't see how you can really give long-term pay raises unless you're cutting employees or cutting expenses somewhere else in city budget, or possibly try to I know the city doesn't really talk much about liquidating any assets, but there is potential with some of those things, and I don't know if that's gone into any brainstorming sessions or anything. Like, there are some capital assets that may, could be run privately and maybe generate some money to pay for some of that. Those are general comments. The real question that I have left, I guess, is that the 33 to 34 million, I think I heard you say that in this next budget, you have $69 million that you're going to be putting towards long-term debt, and I can't remember what else you said, but is that going to reduce the 33 to 34 million annual payment in principal and interest that you're paying on long-term debt? Is that a reasonable question? I know you know that more than me. I think 33 to 34 million is what
I don't think we have any major debt changes.
No major debt changes.
Happening.
Right, yes, but anything budgeted will go to pay for debt service, to reduce the principal, yes.
But 33 to 34 million is what you're estimating for the next 13 years, correct?
I don't have that in front of me, but I can look at those numbers.
Okay, but thank you.
All right, anything else? No? I would like to say, Mayor, thank you for working with me on the 2 to 4% COLA this year. It was something I was passionate about last year, and I didn't get it there in time, so I'm glad we were able to get it there this time, so thank you for that. Is there any other comments? Any councilmen have any other comments? Yes, sir. Oh, Mr. Washington.
I just wanted to reference that Sport Train is here. If there's any comments or questions concerning our 900,000 proposed for next year, I wanted to make sure that I was noted that I was here, and if you had any questions or comments for us, we're here.
Does anybody, I would like, could you email the clerk 2022 and up to date to 2023 ridership and all the data and statistics that you have for Bossier City?
I will just quote to you that ridership's up about 300%, and you're a little over 25,000 rides per month at this point.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Ms. McGraw, when that comes in, will you forward it to the council?
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. Anybody else? No? Mr. Mayor, anything?
I'm good.
All right, thank you.